The Atlanta Braves take down the Chicago Cubs 4-1 behind the mayor of the mayor of Chicago, Ozzie Albies. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast. You're home for every bit of discussion you need after this game, and hopefully in the future, one where we can get the jokes right. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That is Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasting on YouTube. Follow Jake on social media at ShortstopBall. He's got great observations about the little things in the game, like base running. All right, Jake, I want to talk about this 4-1 win. The joke I was trying and failing to make at the top there is Ozzie Albies. I don't know if there's a player on this team outside of how much Ronald owns the Marlins that owns somebody like Ozzie Albies owns the Chicago Cubs. Okay. He goes 1 for 4 with a homer in this game, and his batting average against them went down because in his career entering this game, Ozzie's batting .399 with a .453 on base, a .699 slug in 40 career games against the Cubs. Seeing him get that home run early, how big was that?
That was big, obviously, for the team in the weekend they just had, or at least the last two games, really the whole weekend. I mean, they had the one big inning on Friday night, but outside of that, the offense was pretty disappointing over the weekend. So good to see them come out and Ozzie, and then just kind of leading to 2 more runs, almost 4 more runs in the inning. But just great to see the offense really come out and show out. I thought it was going to be Bryce Elder. I was having to look up some stats real quick. When you were saying the mayor of Chicago, I thought, well, it could be Bryce Elder too, because he's had back-to-back just dominant starts against him. But unfortunately, his career against the Cubs is not as great as what he has been in these last 2 starts. But we'll get to him later. But as for Ozzie, I mean, he's on one right now. And we've talked about it. I mean, there was legitimate questions of whether or not the Braves should move on from Ozzie, whether or not they should even pick up this option. Now, I think we both maintained that picking up the option should have always been a thing, just because you weren't really saving much by not picking it up because of the buyout. But there was legitimate reason to wonder, should he be the second baseman next year? And I don't know too many people who are questioning that right now at this very moment. Now, I will say, and I've continued to say, Ozzie's a very streaky hitter. And when he is hot like he is right now, he can absolutely carry an offense like he is right now. But when he's as cold as he has been for most of this year, he's an absolute dud in the lineup. And those quick at-bats that he generally has are pretty frustrating. Now, I'll say this too for Ozzie this year. Sorry, a lot to say early on Ozzie here, but he is one of the guys that seems to have taken to the Tim Hires changes a little bit. We've seen him be a little bit more selective. We've seen him be a little bit more patient. And as a result, he's right now having the highest walk percentage of his career outside of his first year, where he didn't play quite as much, but an 8.3% walk rate. It hasn't been the other highest of that was 7.7 back in 2019. So you've seen him be a little bit more patient, take some more walks. You've kind of seen him maybe try to struggle through, like a lot of Braves hitters seem to, these changes in this hitting philosophy that Tim Hires, and I think the Braves are trying to ring in. So maybe there is some hope there that it's just taking him a while to adjust to that. And we're finally starting to see him put all that together. That's optimistic thinking there, but we're in the season of trying to think optimistically.
Yeah. And he is also, I think it's worth pointing out too, he is also farther away from the wrist injury. And it was something where we saw how much he struggled on certain sides of the plate to generate power this year. And it's entirely reasonable to think that it just took him a while to get away from that. You combine time to adjust to the approach, time to get away from that. Is the second half Ozzie more of the guy we were hoping to see? I mean, the month of August, he hit .259. The month of September, it's only 7 games. He's hitting .393. But like post All-Star break, this version of Ozzie, 286, 343, 487, 9 homers in 49 games. That's a lot closer to the traditional Ozzie we're used to looking at. That is, top of my head, that's somewhere around 28 homers in a season, which is right where you kind of expect Ozzie to end up. And so Great kind of outcome here, seeing him get the homer, continue the hot play, and then obviously the guys add on after him. Hassan Kim singling to get on, Drake Baldwin hitting the RBI double, Ronald Acuna Jr. getting the RBI single, getting off the skid finally. I do think one of the big things on the offense I want to kind of mention here, outside of the Matt Olson homer, they only finished with 7 hits in this game, but they just converted opportunities, right? 4 runs. But all of this led to Brian Snitker's 800th win. I don't necessarily think when Brian Snitker took over this team, I don't know if I expected it to get to the point that it has, right? 800 wins, a World Series championship, and whether or not he leaves at the end of the season, right? The expectation is that he's going to. I think it's worth pointing out that for his in-game flaws that he may have had, like he's had with bullpen management and things like that, he's been a pretty good manager in Atlanta for his career.
He's been a great players manager. And that's what everybody says about him. The players love talking about him. He'll go to bat for his guys. He's a great players manager, as was Bobby Cox.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're celebrating Brian Snitker here, but I think the biggest fallback for him is that he really hasn't caught up with the times of the analytics, continuing to sit Drake Baldwin against lefties, even though he's crushing lefties, stuff like that, staying with the traditional, Eli White's right-handed, he's got to face a lefty, even though he's been better at hitting righties, like stuff like that we've seen. And some of the bullpen management too, which I think every fan base gets frustrated with the manager's bullpen decisions. But Brian Snitker's a good manager. And you don't win that many games. Obviously, you have to have good players, and that's what he said in his post-game press conference. He's had a lot of good players, and that's the reason for it. And that is true. But he's also been a really good manager. I mean, he's won a World Series, and in that World Series, I thought he did it. There were many moves he made going to Tyler Matzik when you're losing in a game. I mean, there were some moves that he made in that postseason run that helped win them a World Series. So he has been a very, very good manager. They said on the broadcast too, since he became the interim manager, only Dave Roberts has more wins in all of baseball. So again, that's not just by accident. He has been a very good manager. I am of the thought that I think it's time to move on, and that just a new voice and everything is needed, and maybe just to shake things up with where this team is. It's not so much his fault. I just think the team needs to be shaken up a little bit. But yeah, big accomplishment for him. Again, I didn't like you said, I would have never thought he'd sit here with 800 wins after he took over interim title there. But it's been a great run for him.
Yeah, I do think. I guess I'm going to do one good thing and one kind of critiquey thing. I do think you mentioned the 2021 World Series. I think even leading up to that, when to pinch hit, Jock Peterson, I think he had 2 pinch hit home runs in the series against the Brewers. I remember being at one of those games. Just to your point, going to Matzik for Tyler Jackson against the Dodgers, and I think it was game 4 of the NLCS. Like, he pulled all of the levers at the exact right time. And, for as much as he stumbled on some of that a little bit later, he did it all, in the moment and got Atlanta to the World Series. Obviously, the players had to perform, but he pulled the right levers, put the players in the position to do it, and they did it. I will say, you mentioned the handedness thing when it comes to the offense, right? Asking Eli White to always hit against a lefty, even though he hits righties better than lefties and all of that. It feels almost the opposite with the bullpen, that he doesn't pay attention to the handedness situations. And he's like, hey, I'm going to go this guy in the 7th, this guy in the 8th, this guy in the 9th. And it doesn't really matter what part of the order is up. And I do feel like that's an area where a new manager, a new age style of manager, I'm reading a book right now all about baseball managers, is probably going to be a little more matchup oriented, aware of the handedness and who throws what, who's vulnerable to what, versus Snit's plan of, this is my 7th inning guy, this is my 8th inning guy, this is my 9th inning guy. But I don't want to nitpick a guy on a career accomplishment day here. 800th win. It's fantastic. It's great news for him. Also great news, Bryce Elder. Another quality start from Bryce Elder. Looked really good. We'll break that down next right here on the Braves Postcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their spending, where all of their money's going every single month. Maybe they have a subscription they forgot about. Anything from a gym, SiriusXM, YouTube TV, whatever it might be. And that's how you end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you because it does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without needing to build a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine or caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping, too. They have 6 flavors, 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. If you need energy without the crash, the caffeine toothpicks, definitely a game changer. I host MLB Game Night on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, so I am staying up to go live after the final West Coast game has finished. The toothpicks are fantastic for that. They give me energy without the jitters and without the need to run off for a bathroom break. So go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your order. Now, must be 21 or older to order. And a warning, you need to know nicotine is an addictive chemical. But zippixtoothpicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. All right, Jake. So, again, 4-1 victory by the Braves over the Cubs. And Bryce Elder, 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. I talked about this on in the newsletter. We heard Tom Glavine talk about this a little bit on the broadcast. He goes on regular rest, right? They changed the line, the rotation. So Strider's tomorrow, extra rest, and Elder's on regular rest, and he seems to do better. This is another mark in that column for pitch him on regular rest because everything seems to be sinking just right. I mean, they only put 6 of the sinkers into play. The average is under 90 miles an hour on it. And ultimately, he finishes with 15 whiffs and a 36% CSW against a pretty good Cubs team.
Yeah, it's an amazing run that he's on right now. I think maybe one of the most important things about it is you don't know day to day how many innings you're getting out of your starter. But right now, Bryce Elder, I mean, he's given you 6 innings pretty much every time out. 7 of his last 8 starts, he's gone at least 6 innings. And 3 of those, he's completed 7, another one 6 2/3. So, down the stretch here where your starting rotation's been banged up, you've had a lot of short starts. Bryce Elder's given you a ton of length over the last month and a half now. There's been a couple of blow-ups in there, too. He had the 8 runs he gave against the White Sox, 5 runs against the Marlins in 6 innings. But outside of that,
it's 6 quality starts and 8 times out.
6 of the last 8 have been quality. So, we've talked about it over the last several starts. It's great to see. It's just we've witnessed this before, and it just feels like when's the other shoe going to drop? Like, when's he going to stop fooling people? But I mean, the recipe is there. We've seen it. The slider, I thought, had really great movement. It had some really good bite to it tonight. I thought it had a couple of different shapes too. It had the one where it would drop straight down, the one where it would drop away from the right-handed hitter. I talked about a lot being able to use that fastball up at the top of the zone to change the eye level. He did a little bit of that tonight. Too many of those were middle for my liking, but got away with it in this one. I think partly because you had to respect the slider down. I like this one too, whether maybe you give credit to Drake Baldwin on this. I like that they started to go to the changeup a little bit as well later in the game.
Next,
they were seeing that slider. He started to go to the changeup a little bit. So, I mean, the recipe's there for Bryce Elder to be a successful pitcher. It's just frustrating because we see him give up 8 to the White Sox, and you can see how thin the margin is for Bryce Elder. I know many people want to just give him away, be done with him. I think this run right now just kind of proves you gotta keep the guy around, that you need him for that depth, and he's been huge for this team here down the stretch.
I know you're going to get into this on the show, so we don't have to get too much detail here. But Glavine at one point in the broadcast said that Bryce Elder's practically gotten to the point where he's got to be part of your rotation next year. And it's a hard concept to think about. We know he's going to make starts next year. Like, that is absolutely understood. No matter how many guys you sign, you're going to use Bryce Elder. But from where you sit right now, is he one of your, let's say they go 6-man rotation, is he one of your 6 to open the year or 5 to open the year based on the stretch of this? Or does he need to do this through the end of the season? Or is even that not enough to trust him for the full-time job?
Look, I don't even know that Hurston Waldrop's going to be in your starting rotation next year, much less Bryce Elder. And I would put Waldrop over Elder, even though he's younger, and maybe we haven't even seen as much from Waldrop at this point. Right. But I believe it a little bit more with Waldrop than I do Elder. For me, Bryce Elder has 2 more options left. I'm assuming he'll have 1 more going into next year. But right now, Fangraphs reporting him with 2 options left. For that reason alone, I don't think he'll be in the rotation to start next season, unless there are just some injuries. Because I'm still of the hope that the Braves are going to go out and find at least a mid-rotation starter to give them depth. So, like I said earlier, I think based on what he's done right now, it's at least bought him. It's kept him up in the pecking order that we know he's going to get starts next year, and I feel better about that now. But I don't think he'll be in the starting rotation to begin next season unless there are some injuries.
Yeah. Okay. One last question, and this is kind of a YouTube exclusive here. I apologize to my friends on audio. I didn't tell Jake I was going to do this. I'm going to put a picture on the screen, and I need you to tell me who this player is. Spencer Strider shaved his mustache. I put the picture on social media
for those of you who are on audio. Is what I thought it was when I first saw it.
Looks like a ball boy. That's Spencer Strider. He shaved the mustache. What are you doing? Is that the single worst decision of Atlanta's season right there?
Yeah, there's been a lot of them. That is definitely one. But hey, if it helps him pitch better and get things going, I don't care. Shave the stash.
Maybe he'll have a little bit more, efficiency cutting through the air,
a little bit more aerodynamic on that fastball.
There you go. So again, Spencer Strider versus Cade Horton tomorrow. That's the matchup at 7:15. We will be back with you to break that one down. Again, this is a 4-1 victory by the Braves. I want to thank everybody for being here on the Postcast. There's a ton of things you can be doing on your Monday night, especially with a team that's running out the string that's 65-79. Really grateful to everybody who is here. Do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. A lot of Braves content coming from Jake, a lot of Falcons content, some Hawks stuff coming from Locked On Sports Atlanta as well. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.